Yeah. Hi all, welcome to another session of Cognitive Learning Kitchen. So today we are going to cover Todo List Project using Lightning data table and Flow API. We go forward a little bit about myself. Like I'm Ankit Jain, so I'm a technical architect at MNC. I'm 18 certified. I'm active in sales events. This is my LinkedIn URL. This is a QR code for that. So you can feel free to connect with me. And then to be updated on the future sessions, you can join the WhatsApp group as well. This is the QR code for that, so you can connect to that. This and to have a one-to-one session with me, you can book this dot on topnet. And this is my YouTube channel, so you can scan the code and you can view the previous videos recording. There are various topics covered like sequence effects, solid principles, best practices. There are mock interviews as well of different as per the different experience level. So that's about me. So our topic was around the to-do list using Lightning data table and Flow API. So I thought like let's first go over the Lightning data table basic concepts so that all are at the same page. So what Lightning data table does is like we use it to show it in the normal table. Like there's a tabular information where we show based on different data type, different things we can show. So why should I use that? Why should not I create the HTML and use that? See, Lightning data table, the first thing is like it can handle large data sets efficiently. What I mean is like there is large data, then you have the option of infinite scrolling. So you can handle do pagination as well using Lightning data table. Flexibility. So, see, there are various, as you will go show, as we will see in the future in the demo, like there are various customizations that are available. Like suppose there's a column, I want an icon side at the side of it. It's available out of the box. I need to just configure that property in my JavaScript, and I would be able to do that. Ease of use. First of all, like it's a Tableau data, so it's very easy for me to like. I don't have to care about CSS and all. It will be taken care by the Salesforce out of the box. And that like tabular structure, like it would be quite easy for me to manage. Like I don't have to touch the HTML at all. I need to just configure the values around the JavaScript. That's it. So that's why I should go with Lightning data table wherever possible. Also, there are some features which are you will have to do the custom implementation if you go with the entire like the basic HTML. First thing, the formatting. See, Lightning data table already gives you the format, means gives you option of formatting the columns with the data types. You get infinite scrolling as well. You can do inline edits itself. It doesn't mean like it will be happening all by default. Like, see, what would be happening is inline edit, you will get the pop-up, but you will have to handle that explicitly. Like you will have to call the Lightning data, like UI API services, like updateRecord to do the updates, but you will get a callback. Now you have to implement those header actions. Like you can configure like the row level actions as well. Uh, then the resizing, like I can set the density as well. Like will show it in the demo as well, and I can do the selection. Like I get a table with the checkbox as well, like whether I should be able to do the selection or not. I can do the sorting as well. Like I can specify which by which column they should be able to sort. I can get the cell alignment content as content also. I can say whether it should be left aligned or right aligned. Everything I can do. It's too much powerful. We normally don't explore that much, but it is actually too much. So, what some key use cases, like if you want to do show just the Salesforce data, so you can use that. If you want to configure inline editing, you can do that. For lining, you can do that. For filtering, also you can do that. Pagination also it offers. So it's pretty much useful. Any questions so far? If anybody has any questions, uh, so this was about the Lightning data table. Another topic that I mentioned in the slide is around the Lightning data UI API. So UI API is actually a part of the Lightning data service. See, Lightning data service, what it does is like, I want to load the data, whatever I need. Only those data I will query. I will not query all the data at once. And I will cache the results at the client side wherever possible, because my objective of using Lightning Data Service is like I should not write Apex classes wherever possible. It should do caching by default. And whenever the cache is outdated, that time itself it should update. It should not be like I need to check every time whether the cache is outdated or not. There should be some by default mechanism as well. So that's why we use Lightning Data Service. So, and what it does is like it bulkifies the request. Like, see, what happens is like, suppose take an example of get record. See, if normally what you will do is like you'll query one record one by one, but say so Lightning Data Service gives you get records method as well, where you can pass multiple IDs at once and get the data. So the same request is not repeated all the time. So this is around your Lightning Data Service. And there is a few specific note around that. You can use all the custom objects, all the standard objects, but external objects, person accounts, and custom material types are not supported. And when you use Lightning Data Service, it doesn't count against your API usage. Only the record limit, number of records limitation, it's being considered. Other limitations are not there. Any questions so far? You can even raise the hand or you can put it in the chat as well, your questions. I'm okay with anything. Yes,
Okay.
we can do inline editing. I will show it in action. Like for the internal apps I have done and I can show you. But the same component, if you place it outside, doesn't means basically it respects the user level access. So
Uh-huh.
when you are logging in into community, your user like with whom you are logged in, they should have the means have the permission to view those records.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Basically, like it works in user mode actually. This Lightning Data Service. So whatever your like for creation as well, like you use the create record, all these would respect the user level of access. By default, it won't work in system mode.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So the next is around UI API or UPI UI API wire adapters. So it's based on basically these UI API. There's actually just not the UI API. There's UI related API as well. So there are multiple APIs around that. So I put in a UI asterisk API. So all these are based on top of your Lightning Data Service and UI user interface API. So we can use those to do the various stuff. So this is like your record API. So we can do it for use it for CRUD, like create, update, delete, and refreshing the records. So there are few methods like I wanted to call out. Like there are actually much more, but few methods I want like all of you should know like around the create record. So if I have to create a record, I can use that method. I have to pass in like the key, like what are the field API names as per what the value is needs to be therein, and then I have to call this method. Delete record, I can pass just the record ID, it's fine. Get field value and get record, I can use both to get the records. Get field value if I don't want the entire instance, I just want that value. So I can just use that. Another important method is around notify record update available record IDs. So remember we talked about like the caching invalidating. So here this when you use this method, it informs the LDS that the data is outdated. So it needs to get the latest records. Explicitly as well, we can call this use that like refresh effects, but this method is also available. And update record is like you can pass the your input in JSON format, and even if you don't pass any client options, that is also fine. So this is around our UI API. So in our example, we will be covering update record and getting UI related list API.
Sorry to interrupt, Ankit. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Vijay. Yes.
Yes, I have one question around this notify record update available. Can we say that this method is like a substitute for refresh apex? Like when should we
No.
use refresh apex and notify record update?
See, I have used like both of them, like explicitly, like I have not figured out. Like earlier, they used to say like refresh apex you have to use only when you're using the apex method, like you have to cache that. But like here in the example, like when I implemented it, like in my code, mm, one second. Yeah, I used refresh apex for getting that data. So even this worked out, like when I was getting the data from the server. So for me, like I will have to drill down. I would say we need to figure out like what's the difference between this notify record update available and the refresh apex.
Okay. Okay. Here we cannot pass the property, right? We should pass the record
The
ID
record
in the
ID, yeah, that's the core
yeah,
difference. There you have to pass the wired property, whatever you have done used. Here you are passing the record IDs.
IDs only. Okay, fine, fine. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. So this is your UI record, UI list related list API. Now we'll talk about the. Anybody has any other questions so far? Because now I am thinking to move to the project like to-do list. So anybody has any questions so far, can please feel free to ask. Or if needed, I can pause the recording for that duration as well. If anybody wants is written on that. So what we'll be covering today is around the to-do list. So to-do list is like a very basic concept. Concept is like you have a few items that you have to complete. So like I have considered like, see, to-do list would be an object where it would be a contact lookup and a status value would be available on that. Just to mark, like I have my own list, like under that I would have different list items where I would be like having name and status, simple. And it will be linked to my to-do list. Very simple data model, like I wanted to keep it very simple. So that's why I kept it with minimum fields. Only the default fields and these two fields are available. Other than nothing else is therein. So what we will be covering is we'll be creating those fields and then we'll be creating a app where I will show the to-do list in the data table and then we'll be opening the detailed page and we will be allowing for inline editing of this to-do list item. So that is the portion that we'll be covering. So for the saving on the time, so I will just show you the fields that I have created. So this is the to-do list. So this is the to-do list item. So here I've just created a contact lookup as I mentioned. Then this is the status field. This status field only has two values, open and closed. And default I kept it as open because all tasks would be open by default. And this is the list item. So this is the master detail like to-do list. So should be there under that only to-do list item should be there in. So name field is there and I have named it as to-do list item status so that we can distinguish it quite easily. And this is our to-do list app. So here what I have done is like I'm querying all the to-do list items. So if I go in here, two records are there in. So those two records are being showcased here. Now this is actually look at here, like this is the name that is there in, but when I click on that, it will actually pointing out the record, the detail page. Now how I did it was I created the to first we'll go over the to-do list things and then we'll go to to-do list item. So see the to-do list if you notice it, this is the first row that we see like the label name, contact name and actions. So how I configured it here is like I want just mention the label because I label will be what that would be visible to the user. Field name would be whatever like internally at the API level what we want to do. And then I wanted it to be a hyperlink. So I mentioned it the type as URL. And then I mentioned like the inside like I added a label inside that like to-do list name. So that it knows like underneath the name like that would be of URL. There's another to-do list name that is therein. So here it will be called as to-do list link, and this will be called as to-do list name. So here, the same way I have proceeded for contact as well. This is the link and this is the name. And here I mentioned like this is like actions. It is of type of button. So under that I mentioned the label. So label I can change whatever will be visible to the user. Name would be kind of your API name. Title like got the hover whatever I want to show. And then here like I'm getting the data initially from the server. Get to-do list. This is a server call. To-do list controller. So I'm just getting those details from here. Any questions so far?
Yes, I'm a little bit confused here. What exactly we are trying to achieve with this app?
What we are trying to achieve is like will be open means it's actually an implementation of the to-do list like application where we will be creating records and here the data is visible. And when you click on view items, the related items will be visible. And here the inline editing would be there. It's
Okay, so
actually a demonstration of whatever we
demonstration. Yeah, okay. So when we click this view item, it is opening up the child component, or is it
yes, it is it is actually in the same component only
yes.
right now. Here, what we have done is like first we'll go over this one that I would want because this is a bit confusing. So I will go over this one. See, whenever I get to a server call, I get those data, and here like to-do list name where I had mentioned to-do list name that I had mentioned it inside of this.
So this to-do list columns, we are binding it with the data column, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So now like this to-do list name, whatever this is a separate attribute, and here like at the outside I have made shown it as a link of type URL. Now, while showcasing that, the to-do list name, I am populating it here, like this would be the name. And whatever was of the type URL, I have mentioned that created a URL by myself and just passed in the record ID. Now, as a result of this, what would happen at the when the sales would look at this, it will see like here the API name is like to-do list name. So this would be like whatever will be visible of the how the component should look like it should be looking like a type of URL, right? So it will be using that, and it will inside see like it's like there is sub attributes of that type URL. So if you look at the definition, like it's another field name that is mentioned here, to-do list name. So it is a to-do list name. What does it contain? It contains the name of the record. So that way, like while going that, like it kind of breaks itself execution. Like whenever first it sees the name, then it sees the API name, then it sees the type of URL. But again, it goes there and sees like it's a type attributes. Means it's directly I don't have to display the URL. First, what I have to do is like there inside also there is a field name I mentioned. So I should first showcase that this property, and then at the then I should have it as a hyperlink, and then I have to do place the value of whatever is being set as the to-do list link.
Okay, and the target has to be blank only, right?
Underscore blank means it's should open in the new window. If I it's like a hyperlink property only, like
Okay,
underscore
okay,
self underscore blank.
okay.
So here like what we have done is like that whatever data is coming to the server, this is a custom property that we have created in so that I am able to use to the hyperlinking with showing a different text and doing a, having it as a hyperlink. this is concept is used in many of the implementation, and for that person, for that purpose, many people actually go with creating an entire custom data table only. But if we had known this concept earlier, it would be quite easy for us. So
Right,
that's
right.
why, so that's why we need to understand this concept. Like first, it will go to the see like it's a hyperlink has to be done. Then it will see like it's a type is, but is are there any type attributes or not? If there are type attributes, it would take this field name would take the priority over this field name and first show this value. Then we'll come back to this URL and then bind the value whatever is there in this field name because the name comes first and then it becomes a hyperlink.
Okay, and the link we have provided it through the map feature only, right? We have created the object.
It has nothing to do with the map. See, basically what we are doing is we are getting the data. Now there are different ways of iterating the data. Like insert data.map, you can use another feature as well and populate the value one by one. You can go through the normal for loop as well. So either way you can do and push the record. So this is just one way.
Okay, so we if we will iterate this data like data dot value, so that way also it will come as a hyperlink only. We don't have to mention that.
The hyperlink is coming not because of this. The hyperlink is coming in because of the definition of the cell, like
Right,
definition of the column.
right, right, right.
So here, this property we are setting as the name, then it is going back and checking it's a type of URL. So what should be the binding of that URL? It should be binding to this link.
Okay, okay.
Because it sees that the value is like type URL. So when it's URL, like what should be the label of that? So that's why it actually becomes a little complex to understand. So here as well, if you observe, like I will show you the HTML as well. Yeah. So this is a TodoList data table. Key field will always be unique. So we normally prefer ID field for this. High checkbox column. This is another property. Like by default, it would give you the checkboxes as well. But here I don't find any value in having that. So I removed that. Simple. Here you can put the boolean value and on row action. On row action is a generic, like if suppose I have like multiple actions here. Like here I have specified only one action, right? I can have multiple actions under this as well. So to facilitate that, every time, like for all the actions, only one method would be called handled row action. And under handled row action, it is my duty to check what is the action name from where it is called. And accordingly, for each action that has been provided, I have to do the JavaScript calculation accordingly. All clear on this, or still it's taking some time, or there are a few questions like you want to discuss it uh, in private or anything like that, or any hesitation?
View item button. It is like
Just doing the assignment of the parent ID.
so
You are
this.
puzzled around like how it is doing it,
Yes,
correct?
exactly. How it is, calling the child component. So that
Yes.
is where I got confused.
Yeah. There's actually a actually for that specific use case, I explicitly had did the handling around this. See, if you go to the original definition of wire adapter, there are two ways of property can be marked as at the rate wire. Either two things at the rate wire can be used as. It can be used as a property as well as a function. And when I use it as a function, I can pass dollar, like I can pass the dynamic attribute as well as a parameter, like here. Now, what would happen whenever this attribute is getting changed, this method would get called.
Oh, right. So here so that way we are just assigning
The
in
parent
the
ID.
yeah, we are just assigning the parent ID, but the actual functionality is happening in the wire this proper wire adapter only.
Correct. This is actually a very specific use case, and this is yeah, it's also a very important concept around, like in client interview. Once I was asked about this concept. I will open the official documentation as well. Like
And parent ID is it is a reactive property, so every time it is changed or assigned a new value, it will refresh the data automatically.
correct.
We don't have to refresh it.
Do anything exactly. That is the best part. This is like a static one. 1 minute. This is the property. Now it is like the dynamic parameter. Yeah, here as well.
Yeah, we didn't hear the question. Last question the lady asked.
Yeah.
I should know.
Yeah, that is actually like very low. Can you please speak closer to the mic, please?
Yes, now it is audible.
Yeah,
Okay, so my question was like, even in imperative, we will be passing record ID, right? So will it work as imperative also, like when we have to
yes,
fetch the data?
imperative as well. Yes, it will work. That is the imperative. Like what would happen? Like imperative, no, imperative it won't happen because it doesn't know. Like when you make a changes, then only it will know. Imperative, like suppose you are actually specifying like on this action, this method should be called. It's not automatically it's handled.
So basically, in imperative, you have to call that method through function.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
But here, like with at the rate where that's the why we use this one. Imperatively, like you are supposed to do all the handling. Salesforce will not do anything by default. But here with at the rate where it will do the caching for you. If whenever the property is updated, it will call the method as well, so that the cache is not outdated.
So many times we face this question in interviews, like what is the difference between at the wire and calling the method imperatively? So calling apex imperatively. So most commonly we say like the DML operation, like we can do the
Correct,
DML on
correct,
the,
correct, correct, correct,
and
correct.
this is another way, like when
Caching.
caching is happens automatically in the wire, whether while the when we call it
Mm,
imperatively, it doesn't happen like that way.
correct,
So we are
correct, correct. There will be some official documentation around like calling that. Yeah. Yes. So here it is dynamic and reactive. It references a property. So if this value changes, the template re-renders. So that's how this works actually. So that's why like here, like I'm just updating this parent ID. I'm not doing anything. And also it is smart enough, like when the value is null, it will not get called as well.
okay, can you please repeat when the value is null?
It is not getting called because it is, sorry, it's not a null, it's undefined, I guess, because we are not populating this at the beginning. It's undefined, so it will not get called itself because it will know like it is undefined. So that's why it doesn't do a call. And whenever the value populates, and now whenever it's updated, it updates and it does the call of this get related records. So this is just the first part. We'll go into more detail around this. Like now, when I click this, I was able to go through get this related to-do list items. But there is one thing that you would should all observe is this icon. Everybody is able to observe this.
Yes, yes.
So this I had, although the logo doesn't look that much good, but what I wanted to showcase is we can actually have the icons as well placed here. Like I can set the cell properties where I can specify the icon name, can put the alternate text on that just as it is. I don't have to do any explicit CSS handling or anything. I need to just put the JSON right. Here I can put in any other icon as well. And directly it will work. So that is the advantage of this. Another part to observe here is like only for this property, whenever I'm hovering over this, I'm able to see a pencil here. Did you all observe that?
Yes, yes.
It is happening because of the editable you could have put in just for the status field. Because I want to do enable inline editing. Like if anybody opens this one, they should be able to do the updates. Now notice this UI is coming by default because it is like Lightning data table. If I had not used Lightning data table, I would have to handle this explicitly. And notice like the color differences. It is showing very clearly like this is a draft value.
Right, right.
Now this save button by default will not do anything for you. What you have to do here is on the save action, like I have mentioned here, on save, do the handling for me. Here I have iterated to the draft values, and whatever are the draft values, it will create an object out of it, and then it will call the update record method. Update record method is actually your UI record API method. Another key important thing that while using this is in your table, at that time you have to ensure this field name is the actual field API name. If this name does not match your object's API name, this update record API will fail. Any questions so far? Because this is actually a little bit complex, so feel free to ask
Yes.
any questions.
I'm little confused here in the flow actually. Like we have the to-do list item columns. Here we are changing the property, and in the parent we have to-do list columns. We have where we have set the properties for those columns
Correct.
in an array. So the same thing is changed and used here, or we have defined it like a different that is
I
where
will show you. I will show you the records first. Then it would make some sense, I guess.
yes, because if you can
I got it.
understand the flow.
I follow what you're saying. So this is like so to-do list for Samir. Like see, Samir has like 2, 3 items to do. Like he has to watch TV. He needs it should be washing. Sorry, washing clothes. So what are like these are like different actions. Like basically the uh, different things. So now what would happen? Like these are separate columns. Like we have defined at this to-do list, there are separate columns. Like this is a separate table. in column information, this is the separate column information. This is like just for the top
Okay,
level,
okay,
like
okay. This is parent. To-do
yeah,
list is
is
a
the
parent
parent,
and to-do list is a child. Right,
correct.
right. Yeah.
I was thinking like how do I, like suppose I want to do that, get the child information with UI record API directly. I was not able to do this because I need to have the record ID with me. There are only two possibilities. Either I go with GraphQL or I go with Apex. Or there were some other ways as well, like that I will have to explore. So I was like, why can't I use the parent ID itself and get the data? So it came into my mind like I already have for the related records this get related records API, which I can use. So I can just pass the parent. I will have to talk, mention the related list ID. Although the name says ID, but don't be fooled by that. It is just means like you have to mention the API name of this relationship.
Okay, okay.
And here as well in the fields, you might think like, why are we writing this object name like this? But that's the syntax like Salesforce wants us to follow. Like we have to consider like this is the actual child object like which you feel you have to query. Like for the to-do list item, I need to query, so I have to mention that object's API name here, and then the field API name of that. So that's the reason like we had done this activity. Take some time to like digest this one because this is actually some advanced topics. So it's okay like if it takes some time for you. We can take a 5 minutes pause as well, like if you need. Main things to observe here is around like using update records to just update the record without using Apex. What I did is like I just put the API name here. I have to just make sure like if the field name is matching my API name, I can use the update record API directly. And I should have the ID field with me.
If the field name is matching the
API name of the object of the field. Like this was the API name, correct? To-do
and
list
it is
item.
yes, if it is
If
matching
I
the
change,
field, then
then
okay,
it will be able to do the update because what internally
got
it
it,
does
got
is
it.
like it creates an instance where it has just the ID and this API name, whatever you made like editable equal to true.
But in field name, we should always put the API name only, right?
Yes, it will be preferable because in future, if like any calculation you have to do, like you have to use the Salesforce native APIs, then you might encounter a problem. So the recommendation will be always to go with field API name as your actual object API name only. At your UI, only this label field will be visible. So you don't have to worry on that.
Okay, okay. And with that update is handled on the save button, like handle save. We are updating. We are calling the
Correct. Yes.
update. Right, right,
Yes,
right.
this
Got
is
it.
here. Like it is iterating to all the draft values, creating an object instance out of that, and then passing that instance.
So here we have handled the promises, or it is just we have used okay promise all, and we
Basically,
what
like considering like it can be like for multiple, like we have to do like suppose I had implemented it like for a last like checkboxes, then there would be multiple promises. So once all is done, that after all of that is done, I do a this toast message. It's like that. Yeah, this is like returning a like this is just one promise. So it's like turning an array actually. This promises is actually list of arrays.
okay, okay, okay. That is actually an array, and we are handling it with the promise dot all. We are handling all the promises, and then we are handling its promise also, like in then and catch. Like
Yes.
we don't get
Here,
it.
here the catch. Another thing to observe here is not the refresh apex. Like, see, I know that I have updated the record. Now, I should also make sure like the browser is up to speed on this. So with this refresh apex, I tell it explicitly, like this data is outdated. You do another call to apex and get the latest data. So it does the apex call again, and this method, like whatever we had called the get related records, it will call again. Let's observe this. 1 minute. This is where like actually you should be doing the debugging. Your network tab is your help. Like it is very helpful if you know how to use it. Like this is still in draft. I'm calling this the save button. See, only two calls are there. First is the update record. All are able to see or not.
Yes, yes.
Look at the request, what is being passed. So this is like the preview of the response, like this is the payload, yeah. In the payload, it is just passing, like this is the params. Under params, you see whatever is being passed from the browser to the server. So it has passed just the record ID. It has just passed the record input, like which contains our only field like this to-do list status. Nothing else. And in the response, it's returning the same thing, whatever is therein. It's just returning those same fields, same set of data, nothing else. And then it is doing get records for our parent object. No, sorry, our child object again, so that it contains the latest records from the server. Like if by chance any failures are there, then also it should get the right information only. So whenever we are doing a save, like we are doing two calls, one is the update call, and then we are again refreshing the cache. Update record would just ensure like the record is updated at the server, but at the browser level itself, like whatever is being cached, I need to make sure like it is up to speed, like it's has the latest information. So that's why you have to refresh the cache. I have called refresh apex for that method.
Yes, yes.
Update record would just update that at the server. It won't do your updates of the browser or cache. So this is a very small example, like I covered it. There's actually too many things inside this Lightning data service. Like considering like we have 5 minutes, I would want to go over the few of the important methods of UI API with you, so that at least you're enlightened about this. So here there are various methods available. Create record we normally use. It's a post request. You just give it a JSON and it will create the record for you. And then this delete, we covered the important methods. The other important part which I was not able to cover today is around the UI object info API. This is also tremendously useful. See, earlier, like in olden days, like when we had to get the biggest value by record type, it was a tedious task. I have to use Apex for that and do the complex calculation. But now with this UI object info API, I can just use this function and get the picklist value.
Okay. This has been introduced in latest release, right?
No, that has been some time actually, to be fair. It's not in the latest release. It has been around 2-3 releases. I am
Okay.
using this
Okay.
since 2020, I guess. Don't think like you should hard code it. You can do it two ways. First thing, you can get the record type information using your object info, and then after getting that name with the API, ID field, you can use that ID field here. Don't hard code, because in every environment, the hard code, the record type ID might be different. But this is just an example that you can use this get picklist values by record type method. Even the picklist values, if I have to get it generically for an object, you can get it through this UI object info API. So this is like tremendously, there are multiple APIs around these things. The GraphQL is also there. I wanted to cover GraphQL, but it's like would take too much time, so I am not gonna do that right now. But in future, like I might think of doing more sessions around this Lightning data service and this GraphQL or any
So
client side. Yeah.
for pagination, like if we have to do the pagination, what are the options in LWC? Is like one is we can use the navigation mixing, and other one is GraphQL, right?
For pagination explicitly, uh, what we do like in LWC is like we have the data table. Under that you can do the pagination using infinite scrolling. Like there's I will open the official documentation of this data table. Under that data table, you have a method called on load mode. Load mode data set. Load mode. So internally, what Salesforce says is like you do the pagination at like you means the basic way is like through the offset. Like here, like for example, one minute. Like initially you get only use only few get only few records, and then you enable this infinite scrolling. Then on load mode, you implement that. There's a separate property around that. Yeah, load mode event is being fired, and then you have to handle that load mode and call the server. See here, like this. You do apex callout again, get the next 50 records, and then reset it. So it's basically at the back end, like you have to handle it has been handled using your offset only, offset and limit.
Okay.
Traditionally, like the pagination, like at the back end, at the apex side is the best way for handling that used to be standard set controller back in Visual Force times. Many people would not here would not have heard about standard set controller. It used to provide the different methods like has next or no, anything like that. And then we used to use this earlier, but it was just for per object, only one object you have to, you can pass that. So that's how it used to work.
Okay. It is for the visual force, right?
It is a controller actually. Controller you can use any way you want.
Okay, we can use it in LWC as well, right?
Yeah, but I've not done that, so I'm unsure on that. But it gives you like the page. You can use these methods like petition, next, last, previous, everything it gives you. So that's what I would say on this. So I think